What would shock us draft night? Well, if what happens in this article I'm going to cover in a moment. What is up, San Antonio Spurs fans? Welcome to TSR Sports. Hope you're having a great weekend. Actually, by the time you watch this, I'll be at a comic book show. Anyways, I came across an article from Air Alamo that kind of, one, stunned me with some of the information in it, but also I was like, I don't see this happening, but we're going to be doing a ton of draft coverage between now and the actual draft, so I thought, let's cover the article. Air Alamo, what do you got? The San Antonio Spurs will be the team to watch ahead of the NBA draft. They will not only have the second overall pick, but the 14th and 38th picks as well, okay? Duke center Kaman Malewich has largely been written off by many Spurs fans due to concerns about how he would fit playing alongside Victor Wembanyama. This is true. However, Malewich knocked down 12 of 25 threes in his conditioning shooting drill, and he also went 12 of 25 on stationary catch-and-shoot threes. Wait, can he actually shoot the three? Let's continue on with the article. I said let's continue on the article. There we go. Recently showed off more of his shooting touch, draining 14 straight threes during the NBA Draft Combine. While it's fair to point out that there is a difference between taking shots in a gym and in games, Malewich has legit shooting touch. Okay, maybe he does, all right? He's currently projected to be picked between 5th and 8th overall, but there's a chance that he could solidify himself as a top 5 pick. That means that he would be in contention for being taken second overall. And I don't see the Spurs, for the record, from TSR, I don't see us drafting him second overall. But could the Spurs trade down? Could they draft Dylan Harper at second and then trade down for him if he does fall between 5 and 8? That's where I'll give my 2 cents in just a moment. If, this is a big if, the Spurs believe in his three-point shooting, then they could be willing to gamble on him becoming a legitimate starting center and even a borderline all-star. That could prove to be controversial, with Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey considered to be the second or third best players in this draft class. Let's not forget about BJ Edgecombe. Should the Spurs pick Malewich? If the Spurs were to select him, then he could potentially solve 2 problems at once. One being that the Spurs desperately need a backup to Victor and to bolster their defense. Yes, we do. If my lunch can also knock... So Air Alamo got auto-corrected apparent here. If my lunch can also knock out open threes, then he can help with their spacing issues and give them 2 stretch fives, allowing them to play with the floor-spacing big man at all times. Okay? While Harper is expected to be the second pick in the draft, there are some fit concerns with him and De'Aaron Fox and Steph Castle. Malewich appears to have a lot more to his game than first thought. If he can indeed become a legit stretch 5 to go along with his elite rim protection, then he could be a great player. Maybe a reach at 2, but an option if the Spurs decide to trade back in the draft. Ooh, struggle's real. I'm not used to shooting videos this early this morning, Spurs fans. So, all right, let's talk about this. Do another draft video, and there's going to be a lot of draft videos because honestly, one, I like talking about it. It is content for the channel. But even just now, just talking this week with you guys, I really don't know who I want. Logic would dictate best player available at number 2. And you guys have pointed out, and I wasn't watching this when it happened, but certainly am aware of it, when Sam Bowie, who, if you don't know who he is, look him up, was drafted over Michael Jordan because of fit over ability. I don't believe Bowie was ranked the second best player. Was he? I don't know. Wasn't around back then watching the NBA. But the Portland Trailblazers had Clyde the Glide Drexler. Why'd you draft another guard? And Michael Jordan goes on to be the best player of that draft. So best player available, figure it out later. My concern is drafting Dylan Harper doesn't address any of our current needs. We need size. We need shooting. Can we get that with the 14th pick? Can we address that also with the 30th pick? Is there some things that can happen in free agency? I don't know. Malewich does at least check one. He checks the size issue, but there are still going to be, at least I still have some concerns about his legal status. Is something going to happen with that? And you guys have been quick to point this out. He had 0 rebounds in that Final Four game. That being said, his legal status was very much up in the air at that time, so maybe that was on his mind. I don't know. It's whatever we do. Of course, you guys know I'll be go Spurs go. Unless I've said this before, it's a name I'm not familiar, maybe not familiar with, but a guy that's projected to go 15 or 16. If we draft him second overall, that's when I'll fall off my couch and start cursing like nobody's business. I'll be yelling Brian wrong all night. With the draft a month away, I know I'm overthinking things, guys, but I want to see the Spurs in the playoffs again. As a fan, it's been a while. If they miss the playoffs this coming season, that would be 7 years in a row. We're on a 6-year heater as it is. And as a content creator, I have never called an entire playoff series for our Spurs, ever. I've called 2 playoff games. The last 2 games against the Denver Nuggets in 2019, which they both lost. The Spurs both lost. And then I think I've called... How many playing games have we had then? 2 or 3? We had the bubble playing game. We had 2 playing games with DeRozan. Definitely not this year or last. Definitely not the last. So we've been calling games on the channel together. I say together because you guys are part of it for 6 years. Definitely not this year or last year in Wemby's first year or the Keldon Johnson year. Did we make the play-in the 3 years before that? I'm starting to feel like we did. My memory is, I'm drawing a blank. But still, you get the point. I'd like to actually call the Spurs in the playoffs. To circle back around and close on the subject at hand, if the Spurs were to draft Dylan Harper and trade down with somebody, we better get a haul. I expect him to be drafted between 5 and 8. We better get a lot of future draft stock so we can use that to make trades for other players to fill the roster. No, we're not drafting every single pick we have. We have a crap ton, I think, of second-round picks next year. I want to say we have like 4 or 5, more than we'll ever draft. But get this draft capital and start using it. Start using it now to make some moves, to bring some vets in. CP3 might not be back. And start filling out the roster. We have some guys here that are clearly expendable. I don't like saying that, but I think we all know who they are. Your Bassines, your Branhams, they should not be on the roster next year. They've had their chance, and it just did not work out. Best of luck to them wherever they go. Once a Spur, always a Spur. So that's all I got. Kind of a shorter video today, guys. If the Spurs were first, let me put this out there. Would you be even willing to trade back if the haul was right? Or is it Dylan Harper no matter what? Best player available TSR, I don't care. Well, unless they're offering us something crazy like 5 future. Within reason, of course. Or is it Dylan Harper no matter what TSR? We got to get the best player available. De'Aaron Fox ain't going to be here forever. In 3 years, he's going to be 30. Harper and Castle will be our backcourt of the future. And for the time being, we might be going with a smallish lineup if Harper starts at some point next season. I don't know. I think I'm also messed up with the draft, guys, because I saw Con Knippel mocked to us 8 freaking million times that he's just, it feels weird not saying, all right, the Spurs draft Con Knippel in this draft. That's all I got. Thank you all for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you, and as always, go Spurs, go.
Go Spurs, go, 'cause the Giants